Sandy says read, and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to do a book review, and like Rick Springfield taught us, we all need the human touch. In this book review of Business Relationships That Last, we are going to talk a little bit about human relationships. This is a business book, as evidenced by the title of Business Relationships That Last, but it is going into human relationships and that human touch. You guys, I enjoyed this a lot. I got some good stuff out of this book, so we're going to talk about that. All right, let's go over the specs first. Business Relationships That Last: 5 Steps to Transform Contacts into High-Performing Relationships. This is by Ed Wallace. It's published by River Grove Books in 2009. This version is 199 pages, plus some resources from Ed's company in the back. Ed's company is the Relational Capital Group. And let's see, each chapter ends with a section called the Relational Insights. I'm going to show you guys an example of that. That's for you guys to see the relational insights there at the end. That just emphasizes the key points that are going on in the chapter. And it kind of reminded me of what we're taught in public speaking, how you're supposed to start by telling people, here's what we're going to go over in today's presentation. And then you go over what's in today's presentation. You give the presentation. And then at the end, you tell them, here's what you learned in today's presentation. I met Ed Wallace, not met him, but I met him online. I met him through the day job, the Asphalt Pro magazine day job. And he prepared an article to use in Asphalt Pro magazine. And that's sort of how I met him, how that business relationship began. And I reached out to him and said, hey, I'm writing a business book. Would you consider, just reading through this PDF? And if you find it of use, of value, informative, would you prepare a testimonial, a blurb for me? And he said, yeah, send it over. So yay, I was so thrilled that he was willing to look at it and potentially write a testimonial for me. He not only agreed to look at it, he did look at it. He read through the PDF. He got back to me with, hey, would you like some constructive criticism? Would you like some feedback? I'm like, holy crap, yes. Yes, I would. This man has best-selling business books. Okay, he knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. He has a business called, what do we call it? Relational Capital Group. Okay, he goes out and he teaches CEOs and people in the C-suite about relational capital, about business growth, about intelligent business decision making. Okay, yes, of course, I would be thrilled if he could give me some feedback about my business book. He had awesome ideas. I was scribbling notes while he was talking to me on the phone. And one of the things he suggested was taking the dragon concept that I have in the book and running with it and coming up with a dragon score so that the people reading my book can come up with and figure out their dragon score, their motivational dragon score. This is cool because he has it's cool for many reasons, but it's cool because in his book, he has the relational intelligence test. You can go to his website and you can take your relational intelligence test and you can sort of assess how well you are, not just forming relationships in your business career, but how well you are nurturing those relationships, how well you are, I don't want to say using those relationships, but how well you are nurturing and growing those relationships for not just your best growth, but also the other person's best growth. Excellent. And an excellent book. We're going to go over it. We're going to go over it quite a bit. Before we do that, let's do just a quick little bit of housekeeping. I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel. If you are not already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Please invite your friends to subscribe to the channel too, because here at Sandy Says Read, we do bookish stuff. This is a booktube channel where we do booktube tags. We do book reviews like we're doing here today, book reviews and discussions. We do all kinds of bookish stuff, or we talk about bookish things. I also want to take this moment to suggest to you, this is not a huge channel. This is not a large channel where we have lots of big sponsors sponsoring things. I am my own sponsor. So I want to welcome you to please also subscribe to the Sandy Says Read newsletter. I have an author newsletter that comes out only once a month. I'm not spamming people out there online. Once a month, you get an email from me on the first day of the month that gives you some new news about me, what's going on with me, what's going on with the birds. Of course, that's great news. Any author events I have coming up, new releases I have coming up, and of course, the all-important column from a dragon. So I welcome you to subscribe to the Sandy Says Read newsletter. I will put a link to that in the information box below. And now let's dive into the video. Enough housekeeping stuff. In his book, Ed talks a lot about collaboration. And I wanted to bring that point up right away. The concept of collaboration is something that we've talked about here on the channel when talking about different authors that we've highlighted and that we've talked to. We spoke with Dacre Stoker here on the channel, and we looked at the collaborations that he does with other authors, with publishers, with creatives, with comic book illustrators. I mean, he even collaborates with people who do tours overseas, right? Okay. Collaboration is the name of the game when you are a creative. Ed Wallace discusses collaboration in his business book, but he's looking at collaboration not necessarily from, that creative standpoint that we typically talk about it on this channel. We're typically looking at collaborating to write a book. We're collaborating to get a comic book put together or a film put together, a screenplay written, right? He's looking at it from sort of the sales side of things. And yes, once you have your book put together, you do have to sell that book, but he's looking at sales specifically in this book. Even though this book is geared very much toward your sales force in like a corporation, your sales staff, there are plenty of nuggets of wisdom to pick out and apply to other aspects of business, other aspects of collaboration, other aspects of life in general. We're going to go over those. I wrote down here, nurturing the human and relationship side of the interactions we have in business. Yes, there's a sales focus, and yes, there's a business focus, but we're going to talk about some of these human sides, some of the life sides, some of the life focus that's going on here too. The 5-step process is going from business acquaintance to professional peers to respected advisors. And you can see how you could apply that to just people in your life, okay? Not necessarily someone who's going to help you get up the corporate ladder, but someone who's going to just help you in your life. Okay, someone who is just an acquaintance and then goes to a peer who then goes to an advisor in your life. As we do in these reviews and discussions, I'm going to pick out some spots in the book to highlight for you, not just items that I want you to be aware of, but also some paragraphs and some information that can show you the writer's style. One of those, I'm going to show you on page 47. On page 47, we're going to talk about the smartphone and how the smartphone is not just interrupting our interactions, but it's interrupting this perpetual audition. Okay, the perpetual audition, it's this concept that Ed's pointing out for us, how we are always on audition. When we're interacting with someone new, when we're interacting with a business colleague, when we're trying to sell something specifically, we are always on audition. We are in front of these business people, and if the business person doesn't know us personally, they are constantly looking at us like, okay, who are you? Why should I trust you? Why should I believe what you're saying? Why should I buy this product from you? Why should I buy this service from you? Why should I entrust my interests in you and your company and what you're providing? We're always on audition. So if you are interacting with this person and you're distracted by your cell phone, if you're constantly looking at your cell phone, picking up your phone to check messages, to check pings, to check stuff that's coming in, the person who is auditioning you is not going to have a good impression of you. That person is going to feel like they are second to whatever's going on your phone. They're not going to feel like the priority. Of course they're not. And he says in here, he calls it the smartphone addiction disorder. And I wrote in here in the comments, amen, in the comments. In the margin, I wrote amen. And, you know, I believe that when you are having a business dinner or a business luncheon with someone, don't even set your phone on the table. I mean, I have been advised that when you have a business luncheon with someone, you should set your phone upside down on the table. That way, if something important, you know, if your phone rings, it's upside down at least. And so you're not immediately distracted by it. And I think that's ridiculous. Don't even put your phone on the table. Don't even take it out of your computer bag, or in my case, don't take it out of your purse or your computer bag, right? Don't put your phone on the table when you're having a business luncheon with someone. Stop and think about it. In the sphere that the folks here on the Sandy Says Read channel are working in, perhaps you're having a luncheon with a literary agent. If you are an author and you're speaking with a literary agent, what is more important than the conversation you're having with that literary agent? What on earth could be happening on that phone that would be more important than pitching your story to that literary agent? Let me answer for you. Nothing. Nothing is more important than the conversation you're having with that literary agent. Nothing. That phone stays in your bag. That phone stays in your purse. That phone is not on the table. If your phone is on the table, that is a message to that literary agent that something important, more important than her, might be coming in. Something more important than the future of your book might be coming in. Don't send that message. Don't send that message. Okay. So he has listed in here the smartphone addiction disorder. He says, to me, one of the greatest obstacles to better business relationships is our love affair with technology. I call this fixation smartphone addiction disorder, or SAD for short. Maybe you or someone you know suffers from this condition. A good indication is the manifestation of any of the following symptoms. And then there's a bullet point list. Decrease in manners, shorter attention span, inability to communicate face to face, constant ringtone in your ears, emailing a coworker in the office right next to you, leaving your smartphone on during a client meeting, decline in personal and business relationships. I have nothing against iPhones, Blackberries, or any other such device for that matter. I use one myself. But I think if we're honest with ourselves, we have to admit that we're so enamored of today's instantaneous electronic communications that the technologies have started to take the place of true person-to-person relationships. And he's absolutely right. I mean, and this book was, what did I say, 2009? This book came out in 2009. It is so much worse today. So much worse. I mean, I carry my phone around almost everywhere I go. Now, my phone is currently in the other room. It's in the kitchen. And in fact, I turned the volume all the way down, all the way off, because I don't want it to ring or ping or make a sound while I'm in here videotaping, while I'm in here recording for you guys. I don't want it making a noise while I'm recording for you guys. You guys are more important than something that's going to come across that phone while I'm recording. Also, I don't want it making a noise that's going to disturb my birds and upset them and make the birds start going off and making noises, which will then disturb this recording. You guys, right now, recording this video for you guys is more important than getting some ping on the phone. If someone wants to ping me, it can ping, and I will look at it when I'm done recording. It's not that important. It's not the end of the world. I'm not tethered to that phone. There are too many people in our society today who are tethered to that phone. I have just gone off on a tangent. Well, that's part of the discussion part of these videos, as you guys know. Okay, so let's see. I also wrote down here in this section the fact that we're always on audition, and that is something I want us to think about when we're typing up an email, when we're doing an email for someone out there in the world. Think about what you're putting in that email. When you're typing something up online, when you're doing something for social media, think about what you're saying to that other person. We are always on audition. People are they're scanning through and looking at what we're saying online and in those emails. We are always on audition. always. Hopefully this rambling doesn't make you think that I'm crazy. Okay, now let's go to page 87. Oh, yes, 87. We're talking about the handwritten note. You guys, I fully agree with this concept right here. He's talking about the handwritten note. And he says, you might think that writing a note is laborious and time consuming, but as this brief example shows, it's not as labor intensive as you think. For example, keep a small supply of note stationery, letterhead, and envelopes in your computer bag, along with a book of stamps. As soon as you get into your car after a meeting, take out a sheet of stationery, write out your note, address the envelope, and then mail it on your way to your next call or on your way home. This accomplishes 3 things concurrently. It provides an immediate thank you and follow-up to the meeting. It allows you to write while your thoughts from the meeting are still fresh in your mind, and it does not get lost on your desk at the office, never to be thought of again. You guys, this is brilliant, and it's perfect. It's so simple and easy. When I first started at Asphalt Contractor Magazine back in 1998, at Nina Firstenau, the half of the couple that hired me, she was a stickler for this. She's like, write a thank you note. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, of course, exactly. Yes, write a thank you note. She drilled that into us, and I still write thank you notes by hand to people today. My boss, Chris Harrison, he still writes thank you notes to people by hand today. She drilled it into us, and we still do it. There is a human touch to that. There is a human touch to writing a thank you note and sending it to someone and letting someone know, hey, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate this thing you did. And it's simple. Oh my gosh, it takes a minute to write a thank you note. I have had some podcast hosts that I've tried to send thank you notes to, and like I've requested, hey, do you have a snail mail address? Do you have a PO box where I can send you a note? And they're like, what? And they don't want to give me a snail mail address. Fine. People are a little nervous about that these days. It has come to that in society today. That's fine. I can send them a thank you note by email, and that works too. It's not as personable. It's not as personal. It's not as tactile. It doesn't have the same effect, I don't think, but at least it's a thank you. At least it lets them know, hey, I am grateful to you for the opportunity to be on your podcast. Here's a thank you. even if you don't trust society enough to give me your snail mail address. All right. Let's see. And I wrote out here in the margin, it surprises people on airplanes. Yes. I do tend to do like hand note writing and letter writing when I'm on a plane. Oh, you guys, I mean, you're stuck in this metal tube up in the sky. What else are you going to do, right? So I do tend to do like hand writing when I'm on the plane. And I have gotten so many comments about that. I'll be sitting on a plane writing something, and a passenger will be like, oh my God, are you writing a letter? Yes, I am. And usually it's an older gentleman who will speak to me about it and say, are you writing a letter? Oh my gosh, that is such a lost art form. And then there's a conversation, which is fine. That's nice. It's the human touch. All right, let's look at page 112. Page 112. What are we talking about on page 112? Using our time purposefully. Using our time purposefully. One of the steps on the ladder, one of the 5 steps on the ladder is using time purposefully, being intentional with your time and intentional with the time that you're using in growing these relationships. He talks about that. And on page 113, page 113, this is where he's sharing with us throughout the book. Ed is sharing with us stories from a specific individual. This individual's name is Max, and Max is a taxi driver. And we're going to start talking about Max now, because on page 113, I realized Max is reminding me of Mr. Curtis. Mr. Ron Curtis was the band director when I was in high school, and he was a wonderful person. Okay. He was great. He used to shout at us through the bullhorn, band, no guts, no glory. He used to tell us no pain, no gain. He would shout encouragement at us when we were out on the practice field to keep us going, right? When we were all getting tired and we thought we couldn't go on, he would tell us, "Band, I know you're tired. Just reach down and pull a little more out." You know, he would encourage us and he would keep us going. Mr. Curtis, he was awesome. He was great. I still hear his voice in my head so much today. I'm ancient now. I'm much older than I was when I was in high school, right? But I still use and apply the things he used to say to us in my life. On page 113, Max is reminding me of Mr. Curtis because he's talking about a number and belly buttons. Okay? He's talking about the number 168 and belly buttons. Track with me here. Okay, we all have as much in common with the number 168 as we do with having a belly button, Max is telling him. And now Ed is like totally lost. He's like, he's totally lost. He doesn't know. And hours, you're getting warm. Hours. There are 24 hours in a day, and I still don't have enough of them, Ed is saying. Okay, how many hours are there in a week? I thought for a moment. Aha, 168. There are 168 hours in a week. We all have 168 hours in a week. And we all have a belly button. We all have the same thing in common, okay? And Mr. Curtis used to tell us, opinions are like armpits. Everybody's got a couple. And so when I was reading this, I was thinking, Mr. Curtis would get along well with Max. He and Max could sit down and be philosophers together. It would go well. I would like to see that conversation happen. Anyway, the point is we all have 168 hours in a week. What we do with them is up to us. We need to parcel out what we're going to do with each of those hours, right? We need to be intentional with how we use those 168 hours because we're not getting any more. That's what we have. Ed does give us lots of stories about Max throughout this book. Max is the taxi driver who really taught Ed just so much, gave him so much wisdom, so much philosophy, so much business acumen. And I mean, it's throughout this book that he talks about the wisdom of Max the taxi driver, and the way that Max related to him and built a relationship with him as his driver. And you would think, okay, that seems pretty odd. The taxi driver is giving business wisdom to this business guru. It makes perfect sense. And if you do pick up this book, you will see how it makes perfect sense, because Max doesn't just pick him up and take him to the airport and then pick him up at the airport and bring him back. This isn't just asking probing questions of his clients that are in his taxi cab. It's not really a cab. It's a cool car, the way it is described. He's got a good shtick going on, okay? But Max is asking questions and then listening to his clients. He's listening to what they say, he's internalizing that information, and then acting on it in the future. For example, the first time that he picks up Ed and takes him to the airport, Ed has a newborn child at home who has just started sleeping through the night. And he makes a mention of this to Max. He mentions, the kid just slept through the night for the first time. So the next time that Max comes to pick Ed up, he comes to the door and he doesn't ring the doorbell. He knocks quietly, carefully at the door, so as not to wake up the new baby. Max remembers this. Max is paying attention to his clients and paying attention to their needs. And this is a lesson that Ed picks up on. This is a lesson for all of us to listen to our clients. Listen to, if you're an author, listen to your readers. If you're an author and you're pitching to a literary agent, listen to that agent. What does that agent need? What is that agent looking for? Okay. We can learn from Max. We can learn from the way that Max listens. We can learn from the wisdom of Max. Okay. And another thing that stood out to me in this discussion of Max is that Max as a taxi driver is completely different from the taxi driver Neil that I had to deal with. Y'all might remember here on the channel right after Christmas time. I posted a review. Oh, did I write down the, yeah, responding to reviews gets unhinged. Yeah, I posted a video of a story time video, if you will. And I tried to incorporate some bookishness about it, but I posted a video about the crazy taxi driver that I hired and will never get into a car with again. So the experience I had was totally, completely, fully different from the experiences, multiple experiences that Ed had with Max. I mean, the driver that I dealt with, I would never write a book about unless it was a horror novel, right? Okay. I'll put a link to that below so that you guys can go look at that video if you wish, because I think it was humorous. I think it was somewhat entertaining. All right. Now, on page 32, we look at some stuff about Max. Let's talk about Max some more. Max was skilled at identifying and aligning with each writer's specific needs and situation. All right. And on page 33, the most important perspective I learned from him was that if I lose sight of the fact that I am dealing with a real person, then I miss the opportunity to enrich my business endeavors. Page 108, last item on page 108. Hold on, let me get there. Oh, yeah, page 108. Okay, we're going to sum this all up with on page 108. It is simple. Just keep your promises. I can highly recommend Business Relationships That Last, 5 Steps to Transform Contacts into High-Performing Relationships by Ed Wallace. Let me get up there without the glare. Let's get the glare off of it for you. There you go. No glare. You guys, not just if you're looking for something to help you with sales aspect of life, not just if you're looking to build a sales staff, not just for the business aspect of it, but for those nuggets of wisdom in our regular everyday life. I mean, there's advice in here. There's nuggets of wisdom in here for helping navigate just any human relationship you need to be working on. The mentor-mentee relationship can get something from what's in this book. I enjoyed that. I am so glad that, when I reached out to Ed and said, hey, would you look at my motivational business book? He said, yeah, I'll look at it. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that his response back to me was, hey, are you open to some feedback? Because yes, I needed the feedback. I needed some information, and it opened up so much more. He sent me this book, the PDF, free. He just sent it to me. He said, here, check this out. Wonderful. But you guys know I have kind of a hang up about reading stuff on the screen. It's me. It's just the way I am. So I was reading through it on the screen, and there were things I wanted to highlight and underline and then bring to you guys on this channel. So I went ahead and ordered the print book. I just bought the print book because I wanted to have, my host enjoys the tactile sensation. And I wanted to have the print book so that I could underline things and bring you guys the review and have it. I wanted to have it and be able to reference it more quickly. It's just the way I am. So there it is. You guys, thumbs up for building those human relationships, for putting the phone down, for having those human relationships and growing those human relationships and making it just better. Just better. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video.